Hello and welcome to yet another video, and in this video it is something very different than usual because in this video I'm actually going to be talking about the Samyang 35mm f2.8. Now this lens has been out for quite a while now and there are so many videos about this lens in general, so this is not a review video about this lens, it's just my thought and opinion about this lens for you all in case it might be beneficial to you all, because I personally really enjoy using this lens quite a bit and maybe you will too. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the Samyang 35mm f2.8. Now this lens has been out for quite a while, but despite being out for quite a while, this lens is a lens that still delivers a lot of high quality images and one that is actually very versatile as well, and one that actually has a very interesting build quality. So just like in many of my videos, I'll be dividing this video into three different sections. The first one is the ergonomics and the usability, followed by the image quality, and then followed by the conclusion. So the first one, ergonomics and usability. Well, this lens is built quite nice and solid. It does feel very light. I believe it's around 100 grams or maybe less. It does have a metal mount, but for a metal mount lens, it's actually still quite light. It also has a very smooth focus ring and also a very interesting design lens hood right here. It's very interesting because, to be honest, in the beginning I thought it was just one of those adapter ring kind of protector that you can adapt different accessories on this particular lens hood mount, but it is actually a lens hood, so it's quite nice. So I just leave it on here for the most part, but sometimes do take it out and clean because it will attract a lot of dust into the compartment, like the gap between the lens element and the hood itself. But the cap does go on here and you can actually put a filter on this particular lens hood thread as well, so that's actually quite nice. This lens doesn't have any weather sealing, but to a lot of people I don't think it matters, especially at this price point. But to me, since I bought this lens mainly for just going out and take some snaps rather than doing any professional shoot with it, but I have to say the optical quality on here is actually pretty good. It's just I mainly bought it as a snap lens that I actually go out with friends and take pictures of friends, or if they're cooking, just take a picture of their cooking, just literal snap pictures, not creative, nothing in the wild. So yeah, there is that. So for that, this lens has been pretty good so far. The focusing on this lens has been quite nice. So for general purpose of photography, I think that this lens does deliver, especially with the newer AF system of Sony cameras. If you mount this on the older, let's say the A7R2, the focusing will be quite slower, because I do notice with the A7 IV that I have here, or the A7C that sometimes I do mount this lens on, it does kind of kick into focus a little bit slower than Sony lenses. So it does focus very snappy once it kicks in, but there is that fraction of a second before it kicks in and then it tries to focus. But otherwise, when it tries to focus, there is very little hunting. In normal daylighting situation, it's just gonna get onto your subject right away. But in, let's say, somewhat more contrasty lighting or other sort of tricky lighting as well, this lens will hunt just ever so slightly, but that is just really nitpicking, and for the price of this lens, it's really not a huge complaint to be made. So yeah, there is that. But otherwise, there isn't any buttons around this lens to switch from manual focus to autofocus. There's no sort of like accessory buttons that you can actually assign function buttons that you can actually assign them to. So that is to be expected, but would be nice to at least have that manual focus and autofocus lever. So yeah, there is that, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, otherwise, what I really don't like about this lens is the focus distance. The actual focus distance is actually not too far. So I'm about, let's say, this far away from the camera, and that is pretty much the closest minimum focusing distance. I'm not sure how much is that. It's kind of like a little bit over 30 centimeters, but it's not that close for me. I would like it to be a little bit closer though, like some other 35mm out there in the market. So yeah, not being able to photograph that close sometimes make me miss certain detail shots here and there as well, but it's no biggie. There's that. I just wanted to sometimes focus on certain subjects that allows the camera to melt the or allows the lens to melt the background a little bit more, because f2.8 is bright for like street photography, things like that, but for what I like to focus on, it's not really bright. Just to give you an idea, I'm filming with the 20mm f1.8 from Sony, so I do like to have a little bit of blurry background when it comes to these type of lenses, but yeah, f2.8 is still kind of okay. But otherwise, yeah, this lens for operational and build quality wise, it's actually quite good overall, and I don't really have a lot of complaints to complain about. But now into the image quality. The image quality out of this lens is actually quite nice. f2.8, it is still sharp enough in the center and a bit softer in the corners, but if you stop it down to, let's say, f3.5, f4, that's where everything will be sort of in focus, from corner to center. But if you want everything to be really in focus, I think it peaks at around f8, f9 before going slowly into diffraction. This lens also has a very good control of lens flare. So just because you point it to the sun doesn't mean that you will automatically get to that really disturbing lens flare. Lens flares can be nice, and I do like really nice natural lens flares, but you know, with a lot of lenses in this price range, lens flares can be very distracting and you just need more control. But with this lens, the lens flare is very, very well controlled, and I'm very, very impressed with how well it controls lens flares and actually lack thereof in most situations when you shoot against sunlight. So there's that. And also when shooting against the sunlight, especially when you have a lot of high contrast areas, there is very minimal amount of color fringing, which, you know, you can actually ignore or just spend very little amount of time correcting. So that's actually very nice. Hey, future David here. Actually, a few weeks after having filmed that video originally and actually now editing it, I discovered something about this lens as well with the lens flare, and I just wanted to let you guys know that it depends on the circumstances and the situations really. And I think if you're shooting against the sunlight, let's say a really bright midday sunlight, and that sun happened to also shoot through like some sort of glass or some sort of building, then it's a very, very easy weakness for this lens to actually have some sort of bad lens flare. Not bad in the way that the lens flare will look super distracting, bad in the way that the contrast will definitely fall quite a bit and the image can look quite soft and lack of details. And yeah, so please be careful when shooting against a lot of lighting scenarios, like whether it's artificial lights that's very strong or really direct midday summer sunlight. So yeah, just keep that in mind. The sharpness, the contrast control is very, very well controlled when shooting against high contrast scenarios. So I'm very, very impressed overall. And when shooting at night, this lens also performs very nicely with the lights, the artificial lights as well. So that is something that I'm very impressed about. I haven't shot anything professional with this, just more of like night street photography or just night snaps and just walking around the city, just snapping pictures here and there. So nothing really professional, and a lot of the night shots are probably too grainy because of the high ISO, because I'm not bringing any tripods, things like that, and this lens does not have any IS, so just have to shoot extra high ISO so that I can use higher shutter speed to balance that darkness, and also, yeah, just hand holding this camera in general. But otherwise, yeah, the image quality is pretty good. The color rendition and the color depth out of this lens is really, really nice. I highly recommend it. And I think that just naturally leads down to the conclusion. It's overall a very easy lens to talk about because there isn't really a lot of flaws with this lens. Sure, the focusing system can be improved, but for the price range, it is acceptable. You can overlook that. Sure, it could have at least rubberized gaskets behind it, so it actually helps the camera a little bit with weather sealing, but that's also looking at the price point, it is acceptable. So overall, if you're looking for this lens to even shoot professional scenarios with this lens, I think that it's definitely more than good enough because it has very, very good optics. The focusing system in here is decent. It is, well, it can be fast in super, you know, bright light conditions or really nice well lit condition, but yeah, overall there is very little to complain about with this lens. The lens hood here is a type of lens hood that you can leave it on all the time because it doesn't really take any, you know, large footprints on it. So yeah, overall there's not really much to complain about, and I think that's actually a nice point about this lens, and it's a lens that you really have to try hard to look for its flaws. I guess one nitpick that I have to, pick is I wish that the aperture would be a little bit brighter, maybe f2, but that would also make the lens a little bit heavier and also a bit bigger as well. So for the size, for the price, for the quality, I think it's a no-brainer to actually go for this lens, and it comes really highly recommended on my side. So yeah, that's it for this video. It's been a very easy and interesting video to make so far, but yeah, that's pretty much my opinion about this lens. If you need a free photography guidebook, it's absolutely for free on my website. Just click the link down in the description section below, and some of my free photography video tutorials as well, for photography of course, and some paid ones as well. So yeah, I thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, anything to share, any suggestions, any recommendations, feel free to just comment that down in the comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you very much again for watching. Stay safe, have fun shooting. Till next time, bye for now.